What's up, everybody, and welcome to our C Sharp programming tutorial. And you might be wondering why I'm starting off with the coding side. Well, this is because in terms of theory, what I was covering in this tutorial, or what I'm gonna cover in this tutorial, is the same topic as the one in Java. And since I'm releasing the same videos at the same time, it's better for one to just go with one video in terms of theory and application for that specific language, and then this side I focus more on the syntax before we get to instead of just repeating the same thing. So just quickly watch the Java tutorial in terms of the theory, the slides, and then when it comes to application, just jump right back into this video. And yeah, let's get started. So basically we're dealing with classes, right? So we're gonna have a class mkdir. What did I do? Okay, it already exists. Let's first remove that. There we go. mkdir class, and I wanna move to that class. There we go. Then same thing here, we just wanna move to class, and there we go, and there we go, and then we clear. Cool. Then we're just gonna create our C# program, which is just gonna be murex.cx. There we go. Using system. There we go, and then we have name space coder. There we go, and then we have class murex, right? Cool, and then we have static void main. There we go. And then it's a string args. There we go. And then we have that. Cool. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna create classes, right? But then in this tutorial we're gonna start with creating class under the same namespace, and then we're gonna get to a part where we create a namespace, then create classes inside that namespace, and then from that namespace, right? So basically, if you check, we have system, right? So we are using the system namespace, which allows us to use the console class. So in this tutorial we're just going to be creating a class, but then under the same namespace. So we have MurexTheCoder namespace. We're gonna be creating class inside the namespace, and if you did watch the video from Java, we did discuss that we're gonna create a class that just has attributes without any constructor, and then we're gonna have a class with a constructor, right? So let's start with the class that doesn't have any constructor, and then let's call this Rexman. That's the class, right? And then this is gonna have attributes. So this is access modifier public because you want it to be accessible, but then if I don't provide the access modifier, by default it will be protected, so you won't be able to access it in any class, right? Public int say age, and then we provide 50. That's the age. Public name, and then we provide, I love calling myself, so MurexTheCoder. Cool. Maybe public char letter, and then we just call this a. There we go. Basically let's not assign the values, let's assign the values with the object, since we already discussed the object, right? So that we can also keep track of our understanding of objects. So create a class, right? There's the class with 3 attributes or variables, and now we want to create an object of this class in our main method under the murex class. Then we will use that object to initialize those attributes. So rexman and then it's rex man. There we go. And then we're going to use rex man dot age to initialize the age, and then let's give it 60. Rex man dot name Murex the coder. There we go. And then rex man dot letter a. There we go. Right, cool. So we have that. Then what we're gonna do is just display the information. So we're gonna have console dot right line, and then we have age, and then we have console dot right line, and then we have name, cool. And then we have console dot right line, and then we have letter, right? Most people love starting like this. Then from there you're going to use the object, because you have to use an object, because that's not a variable that exists inside this class, but it's from a different class. So you want to access that using the object of that class. Rexman is our object for the Rexman class, so it's Rexman.this. Cool. Once we're done, we save, and then we come here, we have these, and then we're just gonna come and use C# compiler, and then we compile that. A token, where did I miss that? I wonder, where did I miss that? Where did we miss that? Because everything is up to standard. There we go. We have Rexman, and then we create Rexman. That's the right class Rexman, and then we have public, but then we forgot the data type there. Cool. Then once we're done, then we should be fine to, should be good to go, unless if the compiler is gonna complain there does not exist in the current rex name. Starting too fast and I miscall the object. So this is rexman. Mistakes. Rexman. There we go. And then we save that, we clear this, then we run this again, then everything should be fine. Then we're just going to use mono murex.exe. That's our executable file, and there we go. Right, so what we did is that we created a class called Rexman, and then it has public attributes. If I was to not specify the access modifier, I was not going to be able to access these attributes because they are protected. So I have to make them public, right? Then I call them there. So I use the object to initialize the attributes, and then I call the attributes from that class, right? So you remember a discussion of objects, that objects allows us to access the properties of a class. If I want to edit properties, I can edit properties, and by properties I'm talking about whatever that you have in your class, right? So if you have attributes, you can edit attributes. If you have methods, well, you can override a method if you want. But we're not gonna do that. Wait, can we actually override a method? Yeah, we can, using objects, right? I think we should be able to, but we'll discuss that in the future tutorials. We'll play around with that. So basically in this tutorial, we're just creating a class. We just created a class that just attributes, right? Now we're going to create a class that has a constructor, right? So we're going to come there, create a class that is called C#, but let's call it that, C#, right? And then what we want is, we want to create a constructor, but we want to make it public. So this is the format as you saw from the slides, if you did go to the slides, and then it's just parentheses, and there we go. So say for instance we have attributes, right? We have int number, public int number, but we're not going to initialize it. Then we have string name, but let's make it public. There we go. And then we're going to initialize this using the constructor. Instead of using the object, we're going to use the constructor to initialize. And then we have number, and then we have string, and then we have name, right? Cool. So there's a keyword that we can use to actually point at attributes using an object, right? So we use this, which is more of a object of this class. Then I point at number, and then what I want to do is just use number, right? And then I have this dot name, and then I point that to name. There we go. And cool, so that's just what we have, right? So this is the class that has a constructor, and this is the constructor. And if you did watch the video, you should be understanding what a constructor is. And I did mention that a constructor can have parentheses, and it can have parameters or no parameters at all. It depends on how you want to do it. And as I mentioned, it's called upon creation of an object, right? So if we go to where we are creating our objects, and then we just start creating the object for C#. So it's the class name, which is gonna be C#, and then we have C#, right? And then it's new, and then it's C#, and then what we have there is 60. There we go. That's I. We have edit 60. Then we have constructor, right? And then we have that just to end our statement. Then we're gonna come there, and it's console dot right line, and what I have is C# dot I have number, and then it's console dot right line, and I have C# dot name, right? That's what we have. So that's what we have, C# or that. Cool. No, we're not gonna quit, and then we're just gonna clear this, and we're gonna create a button for our thingy so that we don't have to type every time. Murex.cs, and we're gonna have a button murex.xe, right? Cool. And then what we're gonna do, there we go. That's what we have, right? This is what we added in the new constructor, right? But just to put everything in summary of what we discussed is that in this tutorial we're discussing about creating classes, right? And then we create classes inside our namespace. In this case, our namespace is MurexTheCoder, and then you can have as many classes as you want, and you can have a class without a constructor, a class with a constructor. You can also have a class without with a constructor that is parameterless, or the one with parameters as we discussed, and that's the same thing. So I do hope that this tutorial was quite helpful. I know it was quite short due to that the slides are already being covered in the previous or in the Java tutorial. Instead of just me repeating the same thing over again, I just decided not to cover the slides again and just go with the application. And yeah, I shall see you guys in the next tutorial.